So, Drew, people initially approached me and said, how is it possible that the Devil's Due came back? You guys were gone. How did you guys come back? And I simply say to them, dark science, cloning, secrets only the Sith knew is the explanation for how we came back.
Yeah. We are all the podcasts.
All the podcasts.
In one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yet we're not going to make ourselves as young as we could. We're going to stop.
Yeah.
At a ripe 72.
I've got a series of notes.
there are notes. Well, sir, here we are again. Possibly one final time on the path of Skywalker. We shall see. But here we are back again for another episode. Sir, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. It's about as good as I can really muster up. So you know how like when a new president gets elected in better times. Okay, I'm just saying in general, a new president gets elected, and then after his term is up, you generally have people who like look at pictures of them before they entered the office and then after, and they always age like 10 years and like 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about being a parent to a toddler. And I know you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know. And there are listeners out there that are listening that I know know what we're talking about as well.
So yeah, it's been a week or two. Yeah, it's very difficult having 2 work-at-home parents with limited assistance to take care of the little dude and try to maintain a work life and your sanity. And it's been a real challenge over here. So Jen's mom's been great on the 3 days she comes, but on the days that she doesn't, 2 of the days that she doesn't, fortunately he goes to daycare. But we really can only afford the 2 days right now. We're, putting him in more is going to be very expensive, and it's rather difficult right now to figure out how to do. So we're just dealing with them on the 3 days, other days, and it's a lot. So,
yeah. And I mean, we are a little bit fortunate saying that we can occupy him with things for a time. Oh. I say it's really Julie, because William is with Julie about 99% of the time throughout the workday. She's got a laptop, and I'm chained to the office in the basement.
Yeah, Grant has no interest in things for that duration of time yet. He needs more structure than we can, give him when we're both doing jobs. So yeah, it's tough, but we're doing our best. My deck reconstruction project is finally nearing, if not completed. So that's nearing the end or completed. So that's a good thing.
I have seen the pictures on the Facebooks. So was this a reconstruction, or were you just kind of sealing?
Both. So I had a lot of rotted boards. They had to come out, get replaced with new ones. And on top of that, I had to put on a whole new coat of solid stain and all that to cover up, the old, chipped, flaked, deteriorated finish that was on it. So it's been reborn. Or
reboard?
Yes.
Board?
And I don't know if you're aware of this, but materials were hard to come by. Apparently due to, obviously due to COVID, all these supply chains for a lot of things were disrupted. So things became a little more difficult to acquire, that being lumber and fasteners and screws. Add to that, because everyone is stuck inside, everyone apparently decided they were going to do housework. So that made the materials even harder to acquire. So I'm lucky that I got this done because it was. If you were to go to Home Depot and try to get deck boards or deck board fasteners, screws, you, sir, would be looking at a lot of empty shelving. So, yeah, luckily it got done. So, yay.
Yay them.
I'm happy about it. I can
And yay you.
Yeah, I can go and enjoy my deck again.
Just in time for the fall.
Well, we have another month or two of decent of deck worthy weather, so we're okay.
For all people joke about winter in Buffalo, they always forget that summer always goes like 2 months longer than you normally expect it to.
Mm-hmm. So, it's cool. It's all good. But that aside, there's not a lot to report on the media, front. I'm still watching Ozark. I'm in season 2 right now. I don't find it nearly as interesting as season 1. I'm told that it gets really good again, and then season 3 is excellent, so we'll see. But so far, season 2 is kind of a snoozer. I'm not really playing anything new or exciting right now, so there's that. And yeah, that's about it for me.
Cool.
What are you up to?
Well, before I get into what I'm up to, do we have no sound effect this week? No.
No, not tonight.
No pop cap, whatnot.
Taking a night off.
Oh, all right. Okay, sure. I mean,
there'll be plenty of time for that this weekend, but not today. Today, my extra calories were a peanut butter shake at Lake Effect ice cream. So,
hey, there you go.
Yeah, no. Trying to be good, Carl.
Yeah. So as far as my week goes, I got in the mail over the past weekend the new Hero Pack expansion for Marvel Champions, being the Incredible Hulk, which is I've played a couple times with, and it's interesting. It's fun. They're really exploring different design space with the new expansions that have come out in this game, the newer characters and the villains they have coming up. So Hulk is interesting in that he can, as Hulk is Hulk, he can do major damage, but he is also can be unpredictable and has a very limited hand size for cards he can draw back into his hand. So whereas he can do super big damage on a turn, he can't do he can very rarely do multiple super big damages on one turn, like some other characters can.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I'm trying to think what else. My lovely wife Julie has caught the Lego bug hard. Hard.
So dare I ask, what's at this point? What is in danger of overtaking the house first? Your game shelf or the Lego shelf?
Well, my game shelf has moved downstairs.
Okay.
I made a point to during the quarantine period, since I was working in the office, I would finally kind of convert it to a game room. Like I said, I wanted to do for a long time, so I got some shelving units and did that. So my game collection has since moved to the basement. My mother showed up on our doorstep one day with 2 huge Lego sets for William. She got him the Resistance Y-Wing, which I assembled for William, and she also got him a big Yoda Lego set, and Julie put that together over the course of a week, roughly about a week it took her.
Mm-hmm.
She's also doing her stitching and whatnot, so that Yeah, so she finished the Yoda, and then about halfway through doing the Yoda, she starts shopping for her next set. And I found there's two sets I found. One was a little pricey for her, but I'm not sure how much longer that excuse is going to last. The first set I found was they did a Stranger Things set. And it's like literally it's a double-sided set. There is a regular world and an upside down.
Okay.
So I would actually encourage you while we're talking about this to look up Stranger Things Lego set because I think you'd really dig it. So she saw that, she was like, it's a little expensive for where we want to go right now. And then she found the Iron Man helmet Lego set. So it's an Iron Man helmet that you construct out of Legos. Slightly, probably about roughly slightly bigger than a softball when completed. And she just did it this evening. Opened the box, started, finished it. It wasn't a big set. The Yoda set was 13 bags of pieces, and the Iron Man set was 4. So,
this Stranger Things set is it's cute.
That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
It's neat. It's neat.
The things they do with Legos nowadays.
I just want the Dustin mini figure.
That's all you want?
That's all I want. That's great.
Is it missing the teeth? I mean, the hat and the teeth, that's required.
Yes, both.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that is what has been going on here. Julie has that bug pretty harshly. But hey, she's enjoying it. Makes her happy. I'm all for it. That's pretty much it. It's been a relatively quiet week. I'm doing some gaming reorganization, tidying up of things, but that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's our weeks, unexciting as they may be. Dear listeners, if you would like to tell us about your week, send us any questions or comments to the show. You can do so at the following social media locations. You can find us on Twitter at Devils Do Pod. You can email us at thedevilsdopod@gmail.com. You can like our Facebook page at facebook.com/devilsdopod, or you can find all of these resources available to you on our website, thedevilsdopodcast.com. And Drew, that being said, we do have some emails.
All right.
2 emails this week. First from Mr. Cyrus Moore. Greetings, gentlemen. Hope you are well. Just finished your last episode on The Last Jedi, and no, you did not sway me into liking it. Jedi mind tricks do not work on me. Thick Watto accent. Just going to leave that hang there in the air for a moment.
Moving on. Move along.
Yeah. I am, however, excited for you to discuss Episode 9, Revenge of the Fetch Quest, a movie that was able to steer this rudderless ship back to a point where all the elegance of a Sandra Bullock in Speed 2. On a personal note, and recently decided to tap out of Star Wars Armada. The game has lost some of its appeal for me, so I sold my collection in favor of focusing on Song of Ice and Fire miniatures game, which is tremendous. If you could choose an IP to have its own tactical miniatures game, what would you want to see on the table? You know, it's funny, Cyrus, that you've tapped out of Armada because they just announced that the Clone Wars material is coming to Armada. Separatist and Republic ships are coming to Armada, and they did that over the Gen Con announcement. So you do strike me as someone who likes the prequels, and that's all well and good. So yeah, that's kind of surprising. I mean, I get because Armada doesn't get the support that X-Wing does. But Drew, IP want to see as a tactical miniatures game.
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't ready for that.
Tactical miniatures games are not your gaming forte.
I'm just trying to think
for
of
the most.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of something that would lend itself to an X-Wing or a Armada style gameplay setup, and I'm coming up empty, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna go with Voltron.
Okay, yeah, that could work.
I think there's something really cool that could be done with Voltron, depending on how they would want to do it. Yeah.
Well, there you go, Voltron. Or,
Voltron.
if I may, maybe if you're going down that kind of route, maybe Transformers.
Yes.
Multiple forms.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
some kind of something.
There is, or I should say, was a Transformers trading card game. And that was just recently canceled.
Oh.
They got a couple waves and whatnot. They were doing interesting things with the cards. And I mean, it was a trading card game, so I wasn't about to dip my toes in those waters, but seemed interesting. I finished Transformers, that Netflix Transformers.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good. Really good. I highly recommend it.
All right.
I know they're not your forte, but it's still a good watch.
Cool.
So yeah, that's it for Cyrus's email. As always, Cyrus, thank you very much. And then on to Mr. J. Gelsomino.
Hey.
Alan's been absent still recently. Did he have questions last episode? I don't think he did.
No, he did not.
He's been ditching us.
Yes.
But Jay has. Jay's still here. I guess Jay loves us more than Alan does. Yep. Okay, so Drew and Carl, what one casting change would you have them made to the prequels to improve them?
Whoever played Anakin, replace him. And that's, I mean, it's the easy choice. It's the smart choice. It's the right choice. No disrespect to Hayden Christensen necessarily, because I'm sure that he's a fine actor outside of this stuff, but he couldn't work with whatever George was trying to do. Other people kind of could better, like Ewan McGregor, for instance, was doing the Lord's work in these movies, given what he had to work with, and he managed to squeak out a likable presence in 3 movies, whereas Hayden Christensen really just inspired a lot of loathing and derision. So get him out of there and put someone in there who can do more with the little that they were given.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
That's your answer to everything. Yeah. By the way, I didn't have. Sure. I didn't have I don't have a person in mind you, but that's the role that would have to be addressed to try to salvage what we had.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree with you there, especially in Phantom Menace.
Well,
let's age him up a bit, get him a bit older.
Yeah, they never should have started with him as a kid, as we discussed before. And then, not to mention, I just think the other weird thing is like his voice. Now, I'm not saying that they had to get someone that sounded exactly like James Earl Jones, but the fact that like he sounds like a wimpy white bread kid, basically, and as soon as he puts the mask on, then his voice gets all baritone and deep. It's like, okay, that's dumb. Because when he took the mask off in Return of the Jedi, it didn't have the, machine-like effect on it any longer. But Sebastian Shaw, correct? Right?
Yes.
he still had a wonderfully
took a break from leading the Hellfire Club.
Yeah, I was gonna say that Sebastian Shaw. He still had a very deep timbre, and he did a great job of making you believe that was the voice that you heard all along. You know what I'm saying? With Hayden Christensen, I'm sorry, but I don't buy it.
If you're going to be put into a suit that has to sustain your life, and you're going to have a voice projector, some sort of device, and you have the option to use James Earl Jones, I mean, I think that's just a given.
Yes, but as I just established, that's
would you rather him walk around sounding like Marco Stunt?
No, but as I just laid out, it was never implied that the suit was why he sounded that way. That's just how his voice was. But whoops, George. I mean, he clearly didn't care about any other continuity that made no sense when he wrote these things. So yeah, sure, whatever. Sounds like a wimpy 20-something kid. Sure. Okay.
Drew.
Yes.
How overwhelmed were you with emotion when Yoshihashi won his first title belt as new co-holder of the Never Six-Man Tag Belts?
The most meaningless... Go on.
Will it be eclipsed when Tachi wins the world title?
I'm so proud of Yoshihashi winning the most meaningless titles in NJPW, the ones that they often forget that they even have in the company. How happy was I? I guess I got as drunk as Yoshihashi looks all the time in Celebration.
Okay. Maybe a little background on this for the...
Yoshihashi stinks out loud and he looks drunk all the time.
And what's the title that he won?
He is now one of the holders of the Never Openweight 6-man tag titles.
Okay.
So, there's like tag teams, right?
Yes.
Well, the Never Openweight the Never Openweight division in New Japan is like it's a vaguely defined title that really doesn't mean anything. So the IWGP Heavyweight Championship is the heavyweight division title. It's the main title, right? It's their world title. Then you've got the Intercontinental title, which is like a secondary title. Now, you could argue that if you have two heavyweight titles, why do you need two? Shouldn't everyone be gunning for the one? That's a valid point, and I get there very quickly. The Intercontinental, though, was established, and WWF has had whatever. They've had one forever, so it's kind of like the B title. You know what I mean? It's like for the up and coming kind of guy. You know what I mean? You could argue the same for New Japan. So okay, that's that. Fine, fair enough. But now you've got the Never Openweight title, which is basically a belt, and it just allows anyone of any weight division and not tied up in a major program with the IC or the world title. It gives them something to fight over. But it's generally pretty meaningless, and they kind of hot potato it around a little bit, and no one really cares about it. So the Never Openweight 6-man tag team championships, it's basically their trios championships. So three on three tags. It's defended in 3-on-3 tag matches. So New Japan's tag, they don't really have like a tag division in New Japan per se. I mean, they do. There are tag team titles and all that in weight classes as well. There's the heavyweight tag team titles and there's the junior heavyweight tag team titles, and those kind of mean something. But then there's the Never Openweight 6-man, which is like the titles that the company again often forgets that they have. So they don't really mean much. So good job, Yoshihashi.
Way to go, you.
Yeah.
You peed on the potty by yourself. Good for you.
Mind you, this is the same guy who last year, I think it was last year, maybe the year before, he was supposed to have like this big run-in save in a main event. There was a big beatdown in the after the main event of a show, and he was going to be the guy to run in and make the save for Okada because they're stablemates. They're both in the Chaos stable. Well, yeah, he ran down to the ring, and when he got to the bottom of the ramp, he tripped and fell and smashed his face into the ring apron. He concussed himself, busted himself open, got in the ring, stumbled around like an idiot, trying to remember what he was supposed to do, and basically made a fool of himself.
Okay.
Yeah. I already didn't like him, so like that was like catnip for me to just laugh at him more. So anyway,
Alrighty.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, good job, Yoshihashi. Good job. Good hustle. Yeah. Good hustle.
good hustle. Okay, Carl. If he wins, sorry, Jay, that should say when he wins.
Oh.
Who should Louis Gossett Jr. dedicate his Emmy win to? Cindy and Sandy, Bess Armstrong, or the damn Shark's mother? Jay, unfortunately, none of these selections are correct. He should dedicate his win to Doug Masters, the only American pilot known to survive a direct hit from a missile and come back in another movie. You don't see Maverick doing that crap.
I mean, Maverick coming back in another movie, but who knows when it's coming out now because everything is basically ruined.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's good for you, Maverick. How long did it take you to come back in a movie? There are 4 Iron Eagle movies. Okay, so about time you got around to coming back, Maverick. Doug Masters been holding it down for you. So yeah, that's it for the emails. Thank you as always, those who participate. Now we move on to the news, and Drew, we have some things to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, not really a great week if you're hopeful about the stability of DC Comics, DC Entertainment as a whole.
Yeah.
Because it was announced earlier in the week that a massive round of layoffs happened from DC Comics. Writers, art, editorial. We have started to see title cancellations. It was just announced that Aquaman is canceled. You can assume that, that's going to be the first of many. This is a major, I don't even want to say it's a trimming of the fat. Because when you're making cuts at editorial, that's a signal that not everything is good.
Yeah, major shakeup at AT&T/WB, and it cascaded all the way down to DC Comics. I mean, we're talking big names out. And Jim Lee getting demoted, kind of. He was the publisher, and now he's no longer the publisher. Now he's just the chief creative officer. So basically, he's not where he was doing before. It's a bloodletting, and what it stems back to is AT&T taking on this massive debt to acquire Warner Brothers. Business gonna business, and their shareholders, AT&T's shareholders, got spooked by basically what's going to happen more. I mean, not for nothing, Carl, but Warner Brothers won't be the only ones to feel this, the pain of COVID. Every studio is going to feel some pain. So there's going to be a lot more of this going on, believe it or not. So keep an eye on Disney. Keep an eye on everyone. There will be more where this came from, unfortunately. But AT&T's shareholders, I have to imagine, given the business that AT&T is in historically, I don't know that they were prepared for the kind of volatility acquiring a production company like Warner Brothers would bring them. So they got real ticked off and had a little shareholder revolt against the bigwigs. So changes were a-coming, and they came. So they're reorganizing their whole company more or less, centering everything around HBO Max, and they're streamlining everything in that vein. So even this affects even All Elite Wrestling, believe it or not, because the guy who put All Elite Wrestling on TNT, he's gone. That dude's gone. So they better hope the ratings stay good and that they're happy with paying, what they're paying for the show, because if WCW is any indicator, now mind you, this is 20 years ago and a very different time, with a very different product, with a very different financial situation around WCW. But all it took to get WCW, basically, the reason why WCW ceased to exist, now granted, again, like I said, completely different situation, and they were hemorrhaging money. But all it took was one guy in the Turner office who didn't like wrestling to say, they're done. That's it. And it had nothing to do with anything other than the fact that guy didn't want wrestling on their channel anymore. And that was the only reason. It wasn't financial. It was strictly wrestling. I don't like it. Goodbye. So anyway, hopefully that's not the case this time around, but we'll see. So at the DC side, what I've shared this with you. I might have even said it on the show a couple times, and I certainly fear it, and now it's even closer to reality, even if it hasn't officially happened yet. All it's going to take for one of these big major companies is a snap of their fingers to say, we don't need comics anymore, period. Because it's such a niche market, it's such a small thing that if it's bleeding money, why should they bother keeping it around? And like this, I don't know how bad things really got over there at WBDC, and I don't know the full scope of the meetings that took place, but like, I don't know, for half a minute there when things were the day when all the rumors were flying about these cuts, I was for a good solid chunk of time, I thought, I wonder if they're just going to sack the whole thing and say, screw it, we own this stuff and we'll put it in movies and cartoons or whatever, but why are we wasting our time and money in publishing? So it didn't happen that way, but it feels like it could happen if things don't turn around. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't, let me put it this way, I don't foresee it happening, but I feel the potential for it happening is greater than it's ever been.
Yeah, right. Like, if without, we'll use a property that they own as reference. The DC Doomsday Clock is closer to midnight than it was before.
Yeah. So I think right now what could potentially be a best case scenario for DC is to be sold to another company who is interested in publishing, and AT&T retain the film, television, and streaming rights. Because at the end of the day, that is probably what they're most interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, as we were talking about this, I was just checking some websites. SuperheroHype.com reports that Jim Lee confirms all of DC Universe's shows are going to HBO Max.
Which I think we already assumed based on Doom Patrol.
We figured it was more or less a matter of time. It didn't make sense. Even in a world where everything is going fine. Everything is going well in a vacuum. It doesn't make sense to have both DC Universe and HBO Max. So we kind of figured that that was going to be the direction that they were going into. Which, I mean, I'm okay with because I have HBO Max and I don't have DC Universe. But I will say this though: the Harley Quinn show, they moved that over to HBO Max already. Drew, I'm not gonna lie, I've been watching that show and simply taking it for what it is, not trying to connect it to like actual canon or anything. That show is hysterical.
Good.
That show is just freaking hysterical. It's like
madcap fun.
Yeah, it's like if Archer was a DC show. Is the best way to describe it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm really enjoying it. There's something, obviously, Young Justice season 3 I've wanted to see for a while, so it'll be interesting to see when that takes place. But again, something we kind of knew was going to happen eventually. So yeah, DC now not really in the best of shape. It's going to be interesting what probably the next 2 to 3 years holds for them, for this all to kind of like level out and for them to kind of find their new norm, whatever that will be. But again, I think really right now the best case scenario is for DC to get sold. Warner Brothers keeps all the film, television stuff they want, and then just let the comics be what the comics are.
Yeah, I don't know. God, I don't even know. I really don't even know what that would look like.
I mean, like right now, like I mentioned, it was announced that Aquaman is being canceled. I would not be surprised if you saw a massive cut in non-Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman related titles. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like, I know on this show, if you've listened to us for a long time, one of our favorite pastimes is bragging on the DC films and what sometimes they've tried to do in the comics. But at the end of the day, we love DC. We love these characters, and we want to see them carry on for a very long time in comic book form. So this is not good news for us either. So moving along to another big news story of some established franchise kind of shifting and dealing with the change. Yoshinori Ono announced earlier this week that he is departing Capcom.
Makers of Street Fighter.
Makers of Street Fighter. And Yoshinori Ono, up until recently, was head of the Capcom Fighting Games division, which is understandably a fairly big part of Capcom. Not as big as it was, but still a pretty big part. Over time, he has been... and again, a lot of this I'm getting from that video that Maximilian posted earlier today, and he is very knowledgeable on these issues, and he does not theorize a lot without raw data to back it up. So basically, the way it works in Japanese business is you are not essentially fired right off the bat. You are demoted more and more until you decide to leave. That is kind of what has been happening with Ono-san for a while now, and just the perceived failure of Street Fighter V and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, Street Fighter Cross Tekken, basically everything fighting game wise since Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 has in large ways been viewed as a failure from Capcom. Most of these things obviously have not received high critical praise, I enjoy Street Fighter Five. I thought the game itself was good. Obviously, it had a lot of problems at launch with how they decided to package it. A lot of features that you come to expect in modern fighting games were left out of it, and that only added much, much later. A lot of problems with the netcode for online play, and in a game where you are supposedly catering to esports and online competitions, that's not a good thing. So after, geez, I think it's like 30 years with the company, and last almost, let's see, Street Fighter 4 came out in 2008. So yeah, for over a decade, Yoshinori Ono has been kind of the guiding force behind Street Fighter and Capcom fighting games, and he was one of the key motivators to get Capcom to make Street Fighter 4, which gave birth to the new fighting game renaissance that we're currently in right now. So
he,
definitely,
I mean, he got him back, but couldn't.
He could
only take it so far.
Yeah, he got him back, but like after Street Fighter 4, nothing was considered meeting or exceeding that success critically or on the sales sheet. Now, Street Fighter 5 by any measurable standard is a financial success, but is not necessarily the success they were hoping it to be. So now, and also what's coming out is that Capcom announced last week a new season for Street Fighter V, a new season of downloadable characters. Previously, the seasons for this game have been announced, and the new characters, about 5 downloadable characters that come out over a period of time for the season. Normally, this period of time is about 1, maybe 2 months apart that they bring these characters out. There have been 5 characters, 4 were announced. 1 is a mystery character that's coming out at the end. And these releases are going well into next year. We're talking like fall, winter 2021.
So based on that, I wouldn't count on Street Fighter 6 showing up anytime soon.
No, because apparently Street Fighter 6 development is not going well at all. From what Maximilian is saying in his video, and again, if he's saying it, he's not just firing stuff off the cuff to get views. If he's saying it, he's got reliable information. Street Fighter 6 was supposed to be a launch game for PlayStation 5. Which
is coming up very soon. So
this holiday season. And apparently they are nowhere near ready to even announce the game. The development has not gone well, and Yoshinori Ono has become a apparent casualty of that. Now, all due respect to Yoshinori Ono, we don't have Street Fighter 4. We don't have the new fighting game renaissance without him. I am okay with a change to kind of get Street Fighter 6 to what it needs to be. I am okay with waiting because I don't want a repeat of Street Fighter 5. I don't want a repeat of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite or even Street Fighter Cross Tekken. I want Capcom to be the gold standard in fighting games again. Right now, it is just not. So, yeah. And apparently, Street Fighter V was supposed to be a launch title for the PS4, too. So, yeah. Capcom is apparently going to Capcom, but they're making changes, and we will hopefully see what those changes encompass.
Oh, you know what? We didn't talk about it in our news item before this, but I guess I really wonder what the Warner Brothers AT&T stuff means for NetherRealm.
Yeah, I
wonder if they punt it.
I don't think so, because Mortal Kombat makes money. Mortal Kombat makes a lot of money.
Yeah, but if it's not part of their core, if they don't see it as being part of their core business going forward, they might just say, we don't need this on the books. It is, video games are a huge expenditure, man. So if they're getting cost conscious, they might look to offload some of the fat.
If that is the case, I don't see them letting unless I would not. Here's the initial gut reaction: is I don't see that. I would see them selling NetherRealm, but trying to keep Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Well, it's like kind of like what we were just talking about with DC, like somehow offloading the property but keeping all rights to the IP.
Right, but Ed Boon is very smart.
He is.
So I would not be surprised if Ed Boon owns Mortal Kombat in some way that would prevent that from happening.
That's a good question.
If that's not the case, it would be very bad for Mortal Kombat, because Ed Boon has been the driving force of that franchise forever.
Yep, from day one.
But, and especially over the past 10 years or so, the game has turned into a legitimate competitive fighting game.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be unfortunate for the Mortal Kombat IP and the Mortal Kombat fans out there, but also at the same time, giving someone like Ed Boon a chance to start over fresh. There's something to that isn't a little bit appealing.
I don't know. Mortal Kombat's his baby, so
it is his baby, and I'm sure he would fight tooth and nail to keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So it'll be. I'm more worried about DC than I am NetherRealm Studios, because they all they do is make money. I can't think of the last time they really had a failure.
Anyway.
So yeah, there was a Nintendo related, not like full blown story, but people be snatching some stuff.
Well, there was it's called the Giga Leak. If you want to Google this, kids, the Giga Leak. How it happened, who's responsible, is all very vague, but terabytes of insider Nintendo information was found, hacked. If it's again, it's vague as to how this all kind of came out, but all this stuff and it dates back basically to the Super Nintendo era into the N64 era. And we're talking source code of games, development documents, unreleased games, developer notes, just, again, terabytes of data that people are still sifting through. And from that, we've had some pretty interesting discoveries. You might have heard about some of the big ones that have already kind of leaked out, and that being that Luigi was kind of in the source code of Super Mario 64, or at least assets of him were in the source code of Super Mario 64. Unfortunately, it was never completed, so he's not in the final version of the game, but the hackers that found the data pieced him back together using the game's source code, and you can see what he would have looked like now and stuff. There's crazy unused sprites from Star Fox. Interesting developer notes from Star Fox. Like I'm glossing over stuff just for the sake of brevity, but like crazy amounts of stuff. It's hard to really explain. 3D models of Link, or what appears to be Link, that were intended to run on the Super FX chip that was that ran Star Fox basically. So like Nintendo was prototyping all of the 3D stuff well before the N64 ever saw the light of day. Super Nintendo stuff that's really interesting to me. There was there's sprites out there of Link that appear to be from some manner of Zelda 2 remake that never happened, but the sprites exist. It's pretty wild. People are theorizing, getting into another game, that Yoshi's Island, Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, apparently started its life as some kind of Donkey Kong game, allegedly. And then at some point, it transitioned over to a Yoshi game, and Rare made Donkey Kong Country shortly thereafter. How, why, we don't know exactly, but what's kind of become clear from all this data as people are poring over it is like, there are so many what ifs and what could have beens in this. It's in a real way, and it's this leak is kind of only reinforcing it. This stuff is like history in a way. Video games are such an important medium nowadays, and obviously financially it's bigger than it's ever been. And this stuff is like, honestly, this is like historic stuff. And it's sad to me that it took a hack and a leak of all this data to come out to find a lot of this stuff. I really wish Nintendo and other video game companies as well, Squaresoft especially, the only reason that you have Final Fantasy VIII is because like someone found the source code from a PC port somewhere, because Square lost the source code of Final Fantasy VIII. I think they even lost the source code for 7, which is why the PC version was the one that they ported over to Steam into Switch and all that stuff as well. This stuff is historic and important to generations of people. I really wish these companies were better at like archiving it and revealing it in some manner, some kind of I don't know if you need a physical museum, I don't know, but some kind of online museum even, or I don't know, a video series, or just some kind of way to show people this stuff, because obviously fans love it. Fans want to see it. Fans are interested in the development process of their favorite games in a very real way. And, again, I feel bad that it came out this way, but now that this stuff is kind of out there, it's just fascinating to see. And it really is, it's that peek behind the curtain, and it's a look at history and how we got what we got, and the iterations of things to get what we got and what could have been. So it's been pretty wild, man. So if you are interested in any of this, I would Google the Giga Leak and just take a look at the stuff that's kind of been uncovered so far. And there's more to go. They're still pouring over data. So yeah, wild stuff, man. Just pretty crazy, especially if you were a fan of the Super Nintendo and the N64 at that time. If you grew up with it, you're going to see stuff that is pretty mind blowing. It's going to change your understanding of what you thought you knew.
Cool.
It's pretty weird. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's weird to think, like, first off, it's weird to think back and remember that Super Mario World was the only Mario Brothers proper game that we got for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And it was the launch title for the system.
Yeah.
Like, there was never really a follow-up to that, nor was there ever a true follow-up to Super Mario 64.
Not on the N64. No, there wasn't.
Like, we didn't get multiple Mario games again in a single generation until the Wii.
The Wii, yeah.
Yeah.
Universe. Or Galaxy, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. You know, the other crazy thing, there were files of a Mario sprite of Super Mario, and I swear it looks like pre-rendered Donkey Kong Country style graphics. Like, you know what I mean? Like the CGI pre-rendered kind of look.
Yeah.
The file for that Mario sprite was dated 1989, before Super Mario World was even, out. So, or in development maybe. So, like, they were tinkering with that kind of graphic style even then. That's so crazy to think about. But there they were. But it was happening.
Crazy, man.
It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, like, to younger generations, they probably don't care about, like, any of this necessarily, but like I said, this stuff, it really is history. And it's crazy.
So I think that does it for us for the news.
All right.
Unless there's something else you can think of.
No, that's not much is happening in a COVID world.
Well, that brings us on to the main event, if you will. So, and obviously I'm talking about Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. Now,
here we are.
When this came out, we were kind of on our hiatus break, whatnot have you. We always said, okay, we'll come back, we'll review this, and then it'll be a one-shot deal. But for some reason, time, or just because of the movie, we never got around to it. So this is kind of going to be our review, oh man, what happened? Take on Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. So let's get into it. We have a film here that is intended to wrap up arguably the most influential film series of all time. I think you can put the classic Star Wars trilogy into that argument. Something we, again, as the common theme of the prequel films go, we never thought we'd get this. And here we are with this thing now, and we had Force Awakens, which was, as we mentioned, kind of its purpose was to remind people why they love Star Wars, and in doing that, they kind of made a I don't want to say a remake of Star Wars, but a film that follows the original Star Wars very closely as far as beats and themes and things that happen to it. And so now, then we had Last Jedi, which was very much a departure from tradition. It was a very daring take on the mythology, and kind of really cut away a lot of the excess that had been building up around it for a long time, and kind of streamlined it again. Which brings us to Rise of Skywalker, in which we had originally Colin Trevorrow was signed on to write and direct, and through the process of making the film, the news story came out that Colin Trevorrow was departing over creative differences and was replaced with J.J. Abrams.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first things J.J. said officially after being hired was, "I know I'm not good with endings." So
way to lead things off, JJ.
if we know that this is a guy's weakness, why are we giving him the reins of one of the most important endings in filmmaking history?
Well, if I had to guess, it's because they had a date locked in and they had to get it done, and he was available to do it. And they didn't want to risk someone else coming in and starting fresh. So they went back to JJ, who made the first one, in hopes that he had ideas on how to finish all those threads he unfurled in the one that he made in the first one.
Right.
Well, spoilers, he didn't.
Yeah. So leading up to this film and all this stuff happening, I will, hold the L on this one, as the kids are saying nowadays. I was saying, okay, they replaced the director. This happened before. It happened on Rogue One, and we got arguably one of the best Star Wars films ever. And like they know what they're doing. They have a plan. JJ's just going to come in and kind of finish out the plan, and it's going to be great. And you know what, Drew? It is very clear that there was no plan, there was no roadmap, there were no cliff notes, there was nothing.
No,
because what we got was an effort to satiate as many different fans as possible and try to give everyone everything they wanted. And when you're telling a story, that doesn't work.
Is that what they tried to do? Is that what this was?
I think it kind of was. So okay, so Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, and I've said this to you before, Rise of Skywalker exists on 3 levels. It exists as the conclusion of a 9-film story series, a 9-film long story. It exists as a conclusion of its own contained trilogy, and it exists as a film by itself. On no level in any of these existences does this film exist as a coherent narrative.
That's correct.
And
okay,
yeah, go. I've been going for a while, so you go ahead.
No, you summed it up pretty well. It had to do all of those things. That's what it had to do.
Yeah,
and it kind of
a tall order for even if there is a plan in place.
Yeah,
and a film director who's completely confident and whatnot. That is still a tall order.
Yeah, and it honestly fails at all of those things. And I don't know if it's because it tried to do it all that it failed, but like it how do we even begin to tackle this? Like it feels like it's pandering to fanboys, and it's refuting The Last Jedi in a lot of spots because The Last Jedi was contentious among, whatever. We don't have to go there.
It's refuting it in some spots and just flat out ignoring it in others.
Yeah, and again, I think that's not the way to go. But in any case,
and feel what you will about The Last Jedi, whether you like it or don't like it, you have to admit that if you're telling a story that is a continuation, is part of at least a trilogy of films, you can't act like the second act didn't happen.
Right. And like it for a the way Disney tossed aside all of the expanded universe stuff, and tried to refocus things on what they were doing in their movies and whatever. You can argue why they did that and all that, but ultimately they streamlined things. Well, this movie decides to try to, for whatever reason, like, smash all this outside stuff into it. Like, it brings in, there is so much fluff in this movie that is meaningless. It doesn't serve the characters in the movie. It doesn't serve their arc over 3 movies, or 9 for that matter, if you want to go there. It just brings in all this extraneous lore crap. And I don't know why. It doesn't help anything. Like, this movie's narrative is a mess. Star Wars was never about chasing MacGuffins, and this movie has you chasing no less than 2 of them. Right?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Like, Star Wars was never about holocrons and daggers. Like, suddenly these are critical elements to our plot of this movie that has to tie up a bow of its own trilogy and a 9-part saga. What the hell are we wasting our time for on holocrons and daggers with magic rulers that line up to wreckage? What are we doing here? What is this? None of this matters. It doesn't matter. What? I mean, this movie is bad in now. Like, it's not prequel bad. It's its own kind of bad. Like,
yeah,
the prequels are bad in a sort of like cringe-inducing, terrible execution kind of way, where, like, we've been over that. Okay, this is like, no. You guys really tried, and I can see all of the talent on display, but none of it matters. Like, it's a whole different kind of bad. and The movie moves so quick. They threw so much into it, and I think it was intentional. It's to distract you from the fact that none of it matters or means anything. Like, you don't even have time, because by the time your brain realizes that this is dumb, they're on to like 3 other things, jumping scene to scene to scene to scene, location, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. You don't even, like, they're trying to distract you from the fact that none of this makes sense. Like, it's flabbergasting in a way that this is what they settled on. I find it hard to believe in a way.
It's funny because, like, I watched this movie the first time when I finished with it. Now, there are parts of this movie that I like, that I enjoy. There are parts that, like, I pop for in the theater.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's entirely,
yeah, and,
there's
like,
moments.
It's technically done very well.
Yeah.
I mean, the action set pieces are great and whatnot. Obviously, like, they stick to making things real when they can. In this movie, even taking things that were CGI and making them real. Like, Maz in this film is a puppet. She is not a CGI character.
Oh, really?
She's an animatronic puppet.
I didn't even know that. Interesting.
That's how good she was. I think I mentioned this to you once before. Like, with Disney Plus on the films, you get the option to, there's an extra section, and it's kind of where they throw all the extra stuff that was on DVD. I would actually encourage you to go and watch the stuff on Rise of Skywalker, because the technical stuff it shows what they're doing is absolutely fascinating. Like, they show what it took to put Babu Frick on the screen, because again, he is not CG, he is a puppet, and he is being operated by like 6 different people.
Interesting.
And it's really well done. So it's well made, and there are moments that I really went in for, but when I got done watching that, like I kind of came to the conclusion like that's JJ is really good at making moments and giving you those moments that remind you why you love something the way you do. He is not, at least in this case, good at stringing those moments together again with a coherent narrative. Like when they're doing the thing with the dagger, looking at the remnant of the Death Star, I'm just like, are we literally doing Goonies? Is that what we're doing here? We're doing Goonies?
Yeah. Not to mention, at least in Goonies, like, yeah, never mind. It doesn't matter. Yeah, we're doing Goonies, and we're doing it across many, many, many years where this dagger, whoever made the dagger knew that the wreckage of the Death Star was going to land in this exact way on this exact planet if you have to stand in this exact spot to find this exact thing. Like, what? I know this is all space fantasy and laser swords, but come on, dude. Like,
yeah, there's a certain point where just logic has to come into play.
Yeah, it's the suspension of disbelief, right? Like, yeah, I can't. There is a bridge too far where your brain can just only take so much, and you just go, no, come on, like, stop. You know, that was dumb. I have so many notes. I took more notes on this than I wanted to probably, and they're going to read pretty snarky, but it's like, bringing back Palpatine as well. Huge mistake. He feels, he feels so disconnected from the previous 2 movies. Like it's this total weird shift. And again, I know we're trying to pay off the whole 9 movies, so it makes sense if you look at it from that standpoint. But you know what? Right. We're not, though. Like, we had The Force Awakens, we had The Last Jedi. Palpatine was nowhere to be seen, and now all of a sudden, here's Palpatine. Like, wait, what? Okay. And then I started thinking about it from like kind of a almost like a Stan Lee kind of perspective, and it's like Stan Lee once said that every comic is someone's first comic. So that's why, you do it in the old days, you would have, number one, you'd have like the book kind of synopsis on the first page of every comic back. Remember those back in the day, like a quick, So and then came a day unlike any other when all the heroes had to band together and form the Avengers, like just something like that, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you would also, in those old days, you'd get characters would describe their powers like every issue. It would become redundant, but again, everything is someone's first thing. So, like, if someone's first Star Wars movie was The Force Awakens, they have no idea who Palpatine is or why he should matter, but here he is in this one, and it's just like, oh, by the way, Palpatine's here. Like, oh, okay. And, oh, by the way, he made Snoke, and it's like, and he made many Snokes, and all of a sudden, already my brain is like, if he could do that, why bother? Why wouldn't he just remake himself? And, like, the Emperor never died, and the Empire is still standing, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then on top of that, I'm thinking, okay, well, Palpatine's back. Is this what version of him is it? Because if it's like the one that got tossed down the reactor shaft, which I feel like they're kind of implying that it is based on his messed up hands and stuff, but yet he doesn't look like Palpatine from Return of the Jedi in his face. But I don't know, and they don't tell me, so I just don't know. Like, what? What's happening?
Yeah, So when the trailer came out, the first teaser trailer, and it's they tell you right there in the teaser trailer, hey, we're bringing Palpatine back.
Yeah.
Um, Immediately it feels like, okay, this is our way of trying to apologize to the fans for Last Jedi, the film which they need not apologize for. And then the speculation started of like, how is he coming back? What form is he going to take? And like, we were talking leading up to the film, and like the hope was like that he would just like show up at the end and it would be like kind of a very limited thing. Nope, right in the crawl, there he is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, so okay, we're going right into this then. And not only is he back, but he has an entire
Oh God.
fleet, uh, just like because people like Star Destroyers,
Dude.
and we need the old classic Star Destroyers, and
Where did they come from? Who is manning them? How long has he had them? How long have these people been out there manning? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what?
Yeah.
What is going on? How? Why? The other thing I don't like about this movie, like, and the reason why I said it kind of plays as fan service, the impression I got, and again, I could be, apparently I'm wrong, because the movie is telling me that I must have been wrong all these years, but the messaging in the original trilogy was pretty clear that the Jedi were an ancient kind of religion, and that in the time of the original trilogy, they were long forgotten about. People barely even remembered them or talked about them, right? They were kind of like old hat, whatever. Times moved on. And we don't get mention at all of the word Sith is not mentioned once in the original trilogy, right? And the Emperor is kind of this shadowy, mysterious dude. We don't have any sort of rule of two in place. There's no real, he's just the Emperor. And all these, imperial lackeys all answer to him. But they're all just basically soldier, military type dudes, right?
Right.
In this movie, in Rise of Skywalker, they're talking about Sith and the Sith language and the evil of the Sith. Like, everyone is apparently hip to the Sith. Okay. Sure. That all maybe could have come up before now, chronologically speaking. No one said anything about any of that stuff in the original trilogy. The Emperor was just a bad dude with a bad army that Empire had an iron grip on the galaxy. That's pretty much it. That's all I really needed to know. And this, in Rise of Skywalker, even in Force Awakens and Last Jedi, you don't have the Resistance and the Senate fearing the return of the Sith. No, they're fighting the First Order, like this militaristic thing. Now all of a sudden, I've got Charlie from Drive Shaft telling me about the Sith. Like, that's a lost reference for you kids out there.
Yeah.
Like, what? What are you talking about? Why? And C-3PO is... Oh, by the way, this whole thing. He can read Sith, but he can't speak because of the Senate passing something banning translation of the Sith. Get out of here with this. What? All of this reeks of fan service. The audience knows what the Sith are, so therefore we're just going to give them what they want, right? It's like JJ wrote this crap without thinking about it. Like, it's clear to me that he knows this stuff because the fans know this stuff, but he doesn't understand any of its place in any of the universe that it's in. But he's going to put it in the movie, and we're supposed to care. No. You fundamentally don't grasp any of this, as far as I can tell.
Right. I don't. So I don't have a problem with, because from what I understand, the Sith was a concept that was created during the era of the classic trilogy. To be like whenever you're
No, I know it.
whenever you're writing. Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, whenever you're writing something or creating something, you kind of create a Bible for it.
Yeah.
And that Bible is not necessarily stuff that is put on the screen or on the page. It's stuff that's used to kind of fill out the backstory. So the Sith as a concept came about during the time of the classic trilogy, were flushed out more during, obviously, the prequels.
Yeah, right.
And obviously in the expanded universe, much of which was, decanonized after the purchase. So the presence of the Sith and how the Sith are being presented in this film are more what I have a problem with than the fact that there is a Sith at all. Like I understand if there's going to be a Jedi, there's going to be a Sith. If there's going to be Autobots, there's going to be Decepticons. If there's going to be G.I. Joe, there's going to be Cobra. There's always the juxtaposed villain type, and for Star Wars, for the Jedi, it's the Sith.
No, that's fine. But it's the casual way that they're mentioned in this movie by everybody seemingly. Like
it's not even so much the casual way, because like you can make, like, if you sat down and you look at it, you'd be like, okay, all right, Senate blocked off that to 3PO, like the language and whatnot, put block in his programming. If you go back and like to the War of the Sith and things like that, okay. But again, like to your point, there's a lot of deep diving that a casual person is not going to do to understand that information. My biggest thing in this was like, he's in this Coliseum.
Yeah, were those people really there, or was it just like symbolic? What was going on there?
Yeah, it wasn't shockingly enough for this film. It wasn't clear, and it's just like it's just, oh man, it's just like you know who got the rawest end of the stick in this film, character wise?
Everyone.
Kylo Ren.
Yes,
Kylo Ren.
Yeah, Kylo Ren for sure.
Because at the end of Last Jedi, this character is fully developed. He knows who he is.
Yep.
He knows what he wants, and he knows his purpose and place. He is Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. He is of the dark side, and that's who he is.
Yep.
He is the man who murdered Han Solo. I was strict, no redemption for Kylo. We'll get to that in a second. And this film just undoes all of that in 20 minutes, more or less.
More or less. He started, like, they telegraph his turn. They telegraph turn. You okay there?
Yeah.
They telegraph the turn pretty much from the beginning of the movie.
So at the end of Last Jedi, he has established himself as his own purpose, not as his own person, not needing a mentor or superior. 10 minutes in this film, he now has a mentor / superior in Palpatine. In The Last Jedi, he rejected the idea of he is just trying to be Vader by smashing the mask. And no, we're gonna put the mask back together.
Instead of making a new one, they're literally gonna put the old one back together.
You know what I would have respected more, honestly, if he had just made Vader's mask again and put that on. I would have respected that more.
I'm honestly shocked. Now that you say that, I'm honestly shocked they didn't.
Yeah.
Think of like how much mileage they could have got out of that visual in a trailer.
Right. Exactly. So and they just undo all the great things they did with this character. Geez, there's like, I want to talk about the stuff I liked, but there's still so much stuff I didn't like about it that really, I mean, obviously, okay, yes, we've talked about this before, and we obviously have to talk about it again for this one. The untimely passing of Carrie Fisher threw a big monkey wrench into the scripting of this film.
Yeah. Now the question I have about that is, what was intended?
Well, from what they've said, and take this with a grain of salt, that like Force Awakens was Han's film as far as the classic characters go. Last Jedi was Luke's film. Rise of Skywalker was supposed to be Leia's film. So there was a lot more Leia planned for what was in there than obviously what we got for obvious reasons. Now, I respect their decision to not do a CG Carrie Fisher.
Outside of one scene.
Outside the one scene. But to use unused footage from Force Awakens and just kind of retrofit it to what you need. Now, that produces some complications when it comes to story, but looking beyond, this film and what we as Star Wars fans have grown to love and how much we all deeply felt the loss of Carrie Fisher, it's a sin I'm willing to overlook so that Carrie could have a proper, as proper as possible goodbye in this film. But again, just like what I really wanted, honestly, I know we kind of harped on Attack of the Clones for such a big time jump between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. I actually wanted a big time jump between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker.
Well, it felt needed.
Right.
Given the state of the Resistance at the end of The Last Jedi, you needed some manner of time to pass to gain resources or add to their legion. Like, how do you do a follow-up when you have 24 people against the Empire,
Exactly. And I was hoping for give us something like 10 years and open the film with
even
Leia's funeral.
2 or 3, just some an Empire to Jedi kind of situation, a little jump there.
Yeah. So this one was 1 year, and it needed more.
Yeah.
To kind of flush out more. Now, granted, the Resistance doesn't appear to be that much more built up.
No, they're still pretty hurting.
There's not a lot of ships to go around. So yeah, we got that with Carrie. What else was not great? Hey, Palpatine, maybe at some point in your life, stop shooting yourself with your own lightning.
Yeah, I have that note as well. The whole thing with Palpatine is just like he wanted, like, if you've had this fleet all this time or whatever, and you're just gonna kill Kylo Ren and Rey at the end anyway, seeing as they don't want to do what you want them to do, but you still obviously can be empowered and kill them. Why didn't you just do that before? Like I said, why the cloak and dagger with Snoke at all? Like, why just, if you could be immortal, you just be immortal. Send a clone of yourself out there and tell everyone you're still alive. Like, the Empire never fell apart. The Empire's still kicking. Surprise. You know what I mean? Like, if you can do that, then just do that. You're just the Emperor, and you've been there all along.
Right. And, okay, let's say, all right, put all that in a vacuum.
Okay.
You get to, like, the scene where, at the end, where he discovers that Rey and Kylo are a dyad.
Yeah, don't get me started on this mumbo jumbo. But go on.
and he's able to draw their life force to restore himself. Again, why would you stop at age like 79? Why would you draw that much life into you and be like, okay, all right, I'm where I was back at Return of the Jedi. But you know what, folks? Can we give Ian McDiarmid a break and give him like a day or so where he doesn't have to put the full prosthetic makeup on, and just let him replenish himself back to what he looked like in the prequels?
Because that's what we know, Carl. We know what the Emperor looks like, so he has to look like that in the final battle. Otherwise, people won't know who he is.
And apparently, when you're draining the life force from a diet and the Force, it allows you to make different clothes too.
Yeah, I saw that. I noticed that.
Fancy belt.
Fancy belt. Oh.
Yeah. Once again, and you mentioned like actors, doing the Lord's work and doing everything they can with what they've been given. Our principal cast.
I'll say
I think with this, I'll segue into stuff I liked. Our principal cast is just they're coming off the bench and they're scoring like 6 3-pointers in 2 minutes.
Dude, I said it before. I'll say it again. These movies are extraordinarily well casted, and our leads are all tremendous, and they all deserved better than what they got here. All of them. They were not served by the material they got, and they still managed to deliver, in spades, even though they're being woefully underserved. They're also likable. Their chemistry is off the charts. Like, I want to see these people in a movie that's not Star Wars together, because they all just are so good together. And it's just a shame that we're not. I got sad at the end of this movie because I felt like, man, all these people deserved better. I legit felt bad, because they all just. I like them all, and they're not going to get another crack at this, and this is it, and that's really sad.
Yeah, it's really, really unfortunate. Yeah. So, all right, I want to talk about the stuff I did like about this film, because there are things I do like about this film.
Okay.
The set pieces are fantastic. Like the environments they're in, the action scenes are all great. The desert planet they go to where the festival is happening, like that's something different. We don't normally see something like that in Star Wars, and it was very, very visually well done. And it gives us like different things we could see. Like we get to see the Knights of Ren. We don't get to learn anything about them, but they certainly do look cool.
I don't know if I want to even talk about them. Like, we spent all this time building them up, and we literally know nothing about them. And they get dispatched, and that's it. Like, oh, well, okay. Guess,
so.
Yeah,
so the festival's cool. The under the tunnels when they fall through the coffee and into the underground lair of that big snake.
Didn't like
again,
that.
Fantastic. Again, within storytelling context, don't like it. But as far as like a set piece and a visual, like it looks great and it's working great.
It's something. That the whole Rey doesn't kill the snake thing is stupid though. The only reason, like, dude, there's a giant snake that clearly wants to kill you. You have a lightsaber, just kill the damn thing. Like, you people have no problem taking out stormtroopers left and right. Like, here's a wild animal, you might want to kill it, but no, we can't do that because we have to establish this whole force healing thing. So we better have a scene included where, like, Rey does a thing to and make sure it's to an animal, because animals are innocent, Carl. I'm not sure if you know this, Carl, but animals are innocent. So if you save an animal, it makes your protagonist look that much more, likable and but practicality wise, like, dude, it's a giant man-eating snake. No one's going to bat an eye if you cut the damn thing's head off right now. Like,
Right.
but no, we have to have the scene here to establish this thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
The what else do I like? The lightsaber duel between Rey and Kylo on the remnants of Death Star.
Yes, I like that.
It's fantastic looking. There's a lot of emotional resonance in the scene, and just like the visuals they're using and whatnot is really, really great scene. I do want to talk about the Kylo's turn back to Ben. Now, granted, we were very much on the no redemption for Kylo, and I think it would have served the character better had he stayed on the dark side, as I'm sure we'll discuss a little bit later. And in Colin Trevorrow's original script, he did stay on the dark side. So Leia gives up the last of her life force and reaches out to her son.
Can we talk about that real quick? Well, we're talking about it, so let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let me check my note because I want to make sure I get this right. That bothered me. Let me tell you why it bothered me. It bothered me. Where's my exact note on this? Basically, it's Leia dies so that Rey can kill her son. Basically, like if you think about it, that's what it was. And number one, how did she? And again, the Force. So we have to just. I hate using that as a crutch, like, oh, well, she knew because of the Force, so whatever. But how did she know they were having that confrontation at that exact moment, right? And so then she does whatever she does to distract him. She does this thing that ends up killing her, like, so Rey can kill him. That's kind of weird considering it's her son. And not to mention, let me go back. I'm backing up. Okay, so Maz, as they're doing this whole thing on Endor, I assume it's Endor or whatever moon of Endor that they're on, Maz says something like poignant about Leia and what she has to do for her son. And it's like, how do you know what she's thinking or what's going on? How do you know that Rey is fighting her son on a planet far, far away from here right now? How do you know that besides the fact the script told you so? You don't know that Kylo Ren is even there. You don't know what's going on. The scene just happened. Like, again, I know they're working around what footage they had of Carrie Fisher, so I'm empathetic. But like in the context of the movie, this thing happens. She delivers this dialogue about what Leia's going through. It's like, how do you know what? How do you know that? You're not even whatever. So then Leia goes and meditates, distracts her son long enough for Rey to kill him, and then Leia dies. That's Leia's legacy. Like, she goes through all this stuff. She kills herself so someone else can kill her son. Man, that's really stupid. Like,
I disagree with that interpretation.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's what happens.
I don't think she is intentionally trying to distract Kylo for the purpose of Rey killing him. I think she is trying to make one last ditch effort to reach past Kylo to her son.
Okay, but it still doesn't work. And I mean,
no, I get that.
It's still hollow, and she dies.
I don't feel it's necessarily hollow. Again, it's a lot of this because it's not portrayed outrageously well. It is open to a lot of interpretation. I don't interpret it as a hollow act. I interpret it as a mother's last attempt to make her son see differently. And I think like that is even in The Last Jedi when Leia reserved herself to the fact that Ben couldn't be saved, and we can speak to this as parents, a mother's love and a father's love is still going to try. And so again, that's my interpretation. That's how I viewed it. And as much as I was against Kylo or Ben's redemption, I wasn't crazy about how they did it. I didn't 100% hate how they did it. Now, again,
in the words of Luke in The Last Jedi, it's a cheap trick. They dragged Harrison Ford off of whatever farm he was living on.
Yeah. and out of the wreckage of any plane.
I mean, fly, yes. Land, no. In real life. And that gave it some gravitas. And look, for what it is, I'm not going to lie, it's effective and well done. But narratively speaking, I think we both have agreed he should have stayed. His path was chosen. He chose his path.
Yes.
So this feels like too little, too late for me. Like, you're doing it because you feel like you have to, or because it's the Star Wars thing to do, to turn a Jedi or a Sith back to the good side and all that business. But like, dude, we're past that. Like, we had that.
Yeah, and
you teased it, and then choices were made, and here we are.
Yeah, and it's definitely part of the fan service because the fans wanted to see Rey and Ben together.
Yeah.
But getting back to the turn.
Yeah.
If you listen to the show for any amount of time, you know that I had a very close relationship with my father, and anytime something with a father and son come up, I generally will be a sucker for it. So this scene, when I first saw it, I'll be the first to admit, had me in tears. When I watched it again the other day, still, William sitting next to me, still rolling some tears at this scene. That being said, if you're going to do a scene like this, and you're still making some effort to tell a coherent narrative from Force Awakens through this, Han Solo is not the person that Ben should be talking to in that moment when he's teetering on that decision between does he become Ben Solo again or does he remain Kylo Ren?
Mm-hmm.
The person he needs to be talking to in that moment is Anakin.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Leia, but for reasons.
No, because that doesn't make sense either. The person he needs to talk to, the person that can relate to where he is at this point in his life more than anyone else, is the person who he has tried to model his life after, and that's Anakin.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad they didn't do that.
I feel they should have done that because, again, Hayden Christensen's a good actor who didn't have a good director. And there are good actors out there who have the body of work and have the experience that can do so, like Ewan McGregor, that can make lemonade out of lemons when they're given to them. But the prequel trilogy, very early in Hayden Christensen's career, he doesn't really have the clout or whatnot to go against a director. So I don't, based on everything else I've seen him in outside of Star Wars, I really would have liked to seen him in that moment with a much more capable director. I think for all the flaws that this film has, and for everything we heap on JJ, I think at the end of the day we can both agree that he's a much more capable director than George was.
Yeah, technically he's far more competent. Far more.
So I think in that moment, having Anakin speak to him and relate to him and giving that actor a chance to reprise that role in a better way and not doing it was a real missed opportunity, something I would have liked to have seen them do. Let's talk about Luke for a little bit.
Man, let's. So
Yeah.
let me hit you with this. I can't be the only person
Okay.
who left The Last Jedi and hearing Luke's last words to Kylo Ren saying, if you strike me down, I'll always be with you. Remember that? And then
Yeah.
when Luke's gambit is over and Kylo realizes what's going on, he just goes, "See you around, kid." Why did I think that we would get a Kylo Ren haunted by the ghost of Luke Skywalker in this movie, and we didn't get that at all? I was hoping we would get Luke, showing up on Kylo's shoulder, so to speak, every so often, just to needle at him over whatever. Like Kylo's got to make some kind of decision, and Luke just like harping on him or antagonizing him, or you know what I mean, being the angel on the devil's shoulder kind of thing, and like hunting him. But in this, no, we don't get that at all. He won't be seeing Kylo around. Luke only shows up when conveniently needed on the planet where Rey goes to for what, please don't get me started on that whole, on this Rey's, we haven't even talked about the whole Palpatine Rey thing, because I don't even think it's worth talking about, because I think it's incredibly stupid. So I really have nothing more to say about it. I think it's incredibly, incredibly stupid, and it should not have been done. But anyway, she goes back to Luke's island planet thingy, and there he shows up, and he's only there to basically give Rian Johnson a middle finger. And it's just so ham-fisted. I can't stand it. I don't like it. And I'm happy to see, I'm always happy to see Luke Skywalker, okay? Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But, like, the way he's used is, again, he's a ghost, so how much can they use him? But, like, it just feels like the way he is used is so weak. It just felt weak.
So I definitely understand that interpretation, and it is a completely valid interpretation. And for the longest time, like, I kind of was on that lines. Like, it was just like a middle finger to Rian Johnson and just kind of undoing everything that Luke went through in The Last Jedi. And like to a point, that's right. But at the same time, when you look at where the character went in Last Jedi, and you look at like one of the first things he said to Rey in this, it makes a little bit of sense when he says to Rey, "I was wrong."
Yeah, I know where you're going with this, and yeah, I get you.
Okay, so you can't say no, that's not the case, that they just want to give Rian Johnson a middle finger, but it's one of the few things that fits back with The Last Jedi, because at the end of The Last Jedi, we see Luke accept who he is, return to what he once tried to be. That he understands that he doesn't have to be the legend, air finger quotes, that he just has to be himself. And he goes back to that character that we knew in the original trilogy. And so this Luke here that we see in Rise of Skywalker, yes, is very much fan service, is very much the Luke that everybody wanted to see in The Last Jedi, not the Luke we got. It is those things, yes. But it is also a continuation of the Luke that we got in The Last Jedi. And to me, it can be both of those things.
Yeah, I just wish he would have had more to do besides just catch a lightsaber this time and say, "That's no way to treat the Jedi's weapon." Wink, wink, wink at the audience. Okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
God, thanks for that. Oh, by the way, how come is Anakin the only Force ghost who gets to choose how he wants to look in the afterlife? Because everyone else just gets to be like their old craggly selves when they die. Luke is apparently committed to the hobo look for all of eternity.
So you're questioning a change that was made in the special edition, not even the original release of the special edition.
Hang on. No, because even if it were Sebastian Shaw, he was old and craggly and bald and messed up when he died as Darth Vader. So how come he got to look all dashing and worldly at the end of Return of the Jedi, the OG?
Because George? I mean, that's,
you know what I'm saying? Like
you're trying to find a narrative logic for that change, and there isn't. It's just because George.
I know, but maybe if you get to choose kind of how you look, wouldn't Luke want to look the way he looked? At the end when he was doing his astral projection version of himself. Wouldn't that be maybe a better look to say? You know what? I want to look like that for the rest of my life, for the rest of eternity. I want to look like this.
I want to look like Corvette Summer, Luke Skywalker. Not Luke Skywalker.
Not the dude. Not Jeff Lebowski, Luke Skywalker.
Can I at least get Donnie, Luke Skywalker?
It's just an observation. He shows up. He looks all disheveled, and it's like, dude, you're a ghost. You could look however you want to look. Why are you committing to this?
Yeah. So
it's funny. It's funny.
So the battle in the end.
It's.
I'm sorry. I pop big when Lando shows up in the Falcon with everyone.
Of course,
because it's great. It's a great scene.
It's a scene.
It's a great scene, and it has emotional resonance to it. It's especially with everything going on in the world right now, it speaks to that in some ways. The First Order Admiral is the new bad guy they introduced.
Oh, that was dumb, by the way.
His name escapes me. He's like,
Admiral Pride.
Where did they get this Navy from? The other guy's like, it's not a Navy, it's just people.
No, hang on. That's fine. I like that thematically. That's good. I like it. The thing I have a problem with, though, is the First Order, Leia, who has been fighting her whole life. Everyone knows her. Everyone loves her. She puts out the distress call at the end of Last Jedi and the beginning of this movie, and no one comes to help. And then in the span of 2 hours, Lando goes out and does Lando sweet talk the galaxy or something? Hello, what have we here?
It's true. Let's.
And they all show
Lando.
up. I know.
It's Lando.
I know.
We are like the buzzing of flies to him.
I know. I hear you. And yes, I love the man as well. But come on, you know what I mean? Come on.
If someone's gonna whisper that sweet, sweet honey, it's gonna be Lando.
I'll say this about Lando in this movie. That's fine. I do hate seeing my heroes old, but when Lando mentions that he was on the hunt with Luke, my note was basically I like the idea of Lando and Luke going on adventures. I want to see more of. I wish I could see more of that.
Yeah.
That tickled my imagination. Lando and Luke, going out and doing stuff. That would be cool. I'd like to see that. I won't, but I'd like to.
Yeah. And I get. Did seeing him in the Donald Glover shirt just seem weird?
Yes. I would have preferred those Sweet Baby Blues on Lando.
Sweet Baby Blues, or maybe an old beat up general's uniform.
Yeah. That was a curious bit of synergy, wasn't it? They had to give him Donald Glover's outfit. Why? Because did they think people wouldn't know who he was otherwise? What?
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, it's one of those things where he is just coming in. He is coming in hot off the bench. Every scene he has, he's great in. It just really wish we could have seen him in more of the trilogy, but I understand there were health concerns.
For
the first two films, so I was very, very glad to see him back in this one. Yeah, the last scene where they show up and the ship show up, I was like, I really popped hard for that scene. I really enjoyed that scene. But like again, the inconsistent power levels of the Emperor, like so he can shut down an entire fleet. Okay, why didn't he do that at the Battle of Endor?
Yeah, dude, look, I hear you. I agree with you. There's a lot of questions. I don't know, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. None of it makes a lot of sense, and the movie clearly is designed for you not to think about it very hard. Honestly, like by design, and it irks me. That kind of stuff irks me. I don't know. Like if Palpatine's whole plan just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like I said before, like if he could do all these things all along, then why did not just do them? Like who cares if you get to, transfer your consciousness into Rey's body or not? Like whatever, dude. You're clearly still powerful and can still do all this stuff and clone bodies and make your presence felt. So who cares if you're in her body or not? Like you could have just did all this already, or just use Kylo Ren's body. They're a dyad or whatever, right? Like just use him. He was already doing what you wanted him to do. You could have, did whatever to him at some point. You didn't have to go through much trouble to get him there. He was already there. So getting Rey there is just why? Who cares? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Nothing matters. I don't know.
Yeah. It was not the ending that we wanted. It was not the ending that we
Yeah, I hear you. You didn't have to say it. I hear you. I hear you. You know who I really feel bad for? Chewbacca.
Okay.
That scene when he finds out Leia died, that got me.
That just like
he like crumbled, and I was like, "Oh, Chewbacca, this poor dude." And then you know what? And you know what kind of what came to me in that moment was like, man, we're all Chewbacca. Like, we went through these movies, like, we all wanted to love these movies, like, we were excited about it, we new adventures, yada yada, and then all we got was we got to see our old friends die. And it's like, oh, damn. And I know that's kind of maybe what we should have expected going in, but that just makes me kind of come back to maybe what I said in our Last Jedi talk, and it's like, I know why they did what they did, but man, they really should have just set all of these a generation or two removed from the original trilogy entirely, so that give them a happy ending. Watching, because honestly, man, I still have a hard time with the idea that like all the struggles of the original trilogy and the heroes and the friendships and the good times and the happy ending of Return of the Jedi, none of that mattered, and they all die in sad ways. And like, what a bummer! What a bummer! I'm with Chewie. I'm falling to the ground, and I'm upset. And I'm not getting a medal out of it either.
Yeah. I mean, my ultimate take on this is like we got two good movies and one bad movie. Unfortunately, the bad movie was probably the most important one.
Yeah. Isn't it like, God, for whatever reason, I don't want to say that, like, I don't want to say that it's bad, but it is bad. It's a bad movie. For what, like in my brain, I have this weird thing. Like I'm very okay with the prequels being bad, and I accept it. Like it's just something that goes without saying. But there's something in me that doesn't want to say that the new ones are bad. But this one, I will not defend. I cannot defend it. It's not good. It's just bad. Like, and the thing about it, we're probably going to go long, but I'm actually going to wrap up. This is all I have to say. This is my last word on this movie. Like, I can talk about the prequels and all their badness at length. Like, I can go on about them, even though I hate them, which is, I know, the irony of it all, right?
Yeah.
With this one, I'm shocked that I've had this much to say about it. Because when we were going into this, I just thought, like, I don't even know what to say about The Rise of Skywalker. Because there's just not a lot of meat on those bones. Honestly, the plot, the movie itself, it's so inconsequential. And nothing really makes sense. And I just don't care enough to even talk about it. So that's my last word on it. Kind of like it's a thing. It's over. I feel bad for the cast and the characters that deserve better. And here we are, and it's done. And well, I have no idea where we go from here.
Yeah. I mean, again, kind of looking back on the Disney era of Star Wars, for me personally, for the most part, it's been good.
More hits than misses, in my opinion.
Definitely, like, to me, there's just one real miss. This is it. But the problem is, it's like, of all the ones to miss on, this is not the one you wanted it to be.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. This is the one they could not have missed on, but they did.
Yeah. And it, in a way, missing on this taints all the other successes.
Yeah, in a way, in that, I mean,
at least the film successes.
Sure.
Like, I can't get too broken up about Rise of Skywalker being bad when I'm watching Mandalorian, because Mandalorian's just so damn good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to take it for what it is, I suppose. It's a bummer that I don't know. It's just a bummer, man.
Yeah, it's just a bummer. So
there's not much more to say. It should have been better. It wasn't. Here we are. Your Skywalker saga kind of is three great movies, two good movies, and then just a pile of crap in the corner. At least we got the originals, and in my own, this is just me speaking, and I'm not telling anyone what to do or how to interpret this stuff. But for me, it's like, and my kids like to use the term headcanon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In my headcanon, there was the original trilogy. The prequels never happened, and I hate to say this, but like, the sequels kind of didn't hit. I can't really. I'm not saying they're as bad as the prequels, but I don't want to give them the I can't canonize them in my brain. I just can't.
We like the first two.
I know, but I have to. But even if I like them, I have this overarching, whatever the term you want to use there, same spelling, feeling of. I don't like the undoing, like I said before, I don't like the undoing of the happy endings of the characters that I loved, that I grew up loving. I just have a hard time with it. So, and given how it all went down, I just prefer to remember them how they were, and makes me happy. And I can go on with my Star Wars loving existence with The Mandalorian, because it's great. And, hopefully there's more stuff in that vein that fills that need for me. And your Rogue Ones and and yes, even your Solos. I will even say that I did enjoy Solo. I haven't watched it in a while, but I certainly left the theater thinking I enjoyed that, and I would watch another one of those with the same people in it. Which, I mean, if I can say that about a movie, I must have thought it was pretty decent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at with all this. Whatever they do next, whatever Star Wars decides to do next, I just hope take it somewhere else and get it far away from stuff we know, and don't reference people we know anymore. Just tell me a new story with new people, and for God's sake, plan it out.
Yeah. So yeah, I think as far as what is coming from Star Wars, we know we're getting Mandalorian season 2.
Yep.
We are getting a lot of Disney Plus content. We got a final season of Clone Wars, which was freaking incredible. We are getting a Cassian Andor show. We're getting an Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Those are the two that we know for absolute certain that we're getting.
And I'm on board for all that. If the execution is on point, I think me though when I say, I've said this before, I am a little tired of mining the same time period kind of stuff. Filling in the gaps kind of irks me. Yeah. I hope we can move on at some point. Like I said, whatever they do next, please just take it away somewhere next.
But I think you can even though Mandalorian's doing that, it's filling in the gaps. It's doing it really well. So I think execution speaks for a lot. As far as films go, there is nothing currently official.
I'm sure they've got I'm sure they're taking in a lot of ideas, but I don't think they know where they want to definitely go yet.
And at this point, and this is me saying this, I think if we've established anything over these last 9 episodes, is that I'm willing to forgive Star Wars a lot of its sins. I am okay if Star Wars decides to stay out of theaters for a good long while. Even though ultimately for me it is best experienced as a theater.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think for now, just tell us some smaller scale good stories and give the larger scale stories kind of a breather for a while. So yeah, that's kind of where we are. Dear listeners, we appreciate you joining us. We were doing some discussion prior to beginning recording this episode of where we want to go next. We have a couple different ideas, but most importantly, we want to hear from you all. What would you like? What direction would you like to see the show go in? We discussed the idea of doing just kind of like 2 bonus episodes of the Star Wars anthology where we talk about Solo and we talk about Rogue One. We've talked about just kind of sticking around for a little while and just checking in every other week like we've been doing with some news and some general discussion, not necessarily really a theme to the show. But we would like to hear what you guys and girls think, what you want us to do, or where you would like to see us go. We're definitely interested and appreciate any feedback you can give us. And if you're looking for a place to give us that feedback, you can do so at the following social media locations. Segway Black Belt. You can do so on Twitter. Follow us at Devils Do Pod. You can like our Facebook page at facebook.com/Devils Do Pod. You can email us at thedevilsdopod@gmail.com, or you can find all these resources available to you on our website, thedevilsdopodcast.com. Drew, for all intents and purposes, we have come to the end of the Star Wars Star Wars road. Any final thoughts?
I gave you all I got for Star Wars.
All right, cool. Folks,
1,000 Star Wars takes live in you now, Carl.
40 hours of pain.
Oh, God. Oh.
All at once.
No, it's not that many. 10 to 12 tops.
All right, so folks, thank you for joining us for this whole journey. We will be back. So far, the plan is to stick to our bi-weekly schedule. I could probably safely say there is no plan to return to a weekly schedule at the moment.
Not at present, no.
Yeah, no. But we appreciate you sticking with us. We hope you all have a great time. Enjoy these films. Love them. They have endured. And may the Force be with you all.